Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink, it is time for some Path of Exile discussion. Today is day 18 of teaser season for patch 3.19 and the upcoming Lake of Kalandra expansion. This might be the last of the daily videos on teasers, or maybe there'll be enough revealed tomorrow that there'll be space for another video. We'll have to work that out then. Today we got the challenge rewards. These usually come a bit earlier in the hype cycle, and I think GGG's approach this time has been to give people the information that's important for build planning earlier, and then to give them the other stuff a little bit later. And that's why these turned up so late in the program. Or maybe it was just that these weren't done until now. There is a new system that's coming in. There are 16 total rewards. There is a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4 version of each of 4 different microtransactions. There's a helmet attachment, a weapon effect, there's a character effect, and there's also a set of wings. I personally think the best of these MTX comes online at 35 challenges, and that is the tier 4 version of the incandescent character effect. But that said, it might end up being too bright in actual play, and so you might decide, no, I want something more subdued. You might end up using the tier 2 or 3 version instead. So these will start coming online very early in challenge progression. You'll get the first ones at 4, 6, 8, and 10, but then they start getting spaced out a little bit more, and the final reward is the tier 4 version of the incandescent wings, which becomes available at 38 challenges. Link in the description below if you want to see the full video of all of those. Next is a console improvement. This console improvement is to networking. So instead of having just lockstep and just predictive, there is now an auto mode on console, which will use lockstep where possible, but when your internet connection or latency falls below a certain level, you'll swap to predictive instead. Predictive is definitely the worst play experience if your connection is really good. Lockstep, however, is absolutely terrible if your connection is bad, and this should jump between the two of them. Kind of hope this works well. Next is the last of the Grand Spectrum jewels, and they did kind of save the best till last. So a lot of us had speculated that there may be a +1 to minimum power charges per Grand Spectrum. So if you have 3 total jewels in your tree named Grand Spectrum, then this jewel alone provides you with 3 minimum power charges. Do remember that if your minimum power charges exceeds your maximum, then your maximum dominates. So you won't be able to benefit from 2 of this jewel unless you've raised your power charge maximum somehow. But then we have the other one, which is the life one, the life crimson jewel. That is really interesting. 5% increased maximum life per Grand Spectrum. If you are running multiple Grand Spectrums, this is the ultimate filler. This jewel is going to give you 15% life, and it's also going to empower the Endurance Charge and Frenzy Charge ones. I do think a lot of people will start a setup where they have the 5% life, the 3 Endurance Charges, the 3 Frenzy Charges, because those stats are pretty universally useful to all characters. Then ultimately, as your character gets more powerful, you'll probably remove these, looking to sell them to other players at that point, and pick up something else instead, like a Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh pair, or alternately a really good Watcher's Eye. There'll be a bit more dynamism in the way that your gearing is set up over time. At least that's the theory. I hope that the Grand Spectrum for life ends up being as good as I'm expecting it to be, which is not necessarily a super chase endgame item, but something that is widely used just before you get to that point. And finally, as a tiny little trade-related quality of life thing, you'll be able to search your stash tabs by position in the future. Now, whilst this is shown here by GGG in the context of a regular stash tab, this is going to be far better for those of us that have quad tabs. You'll be able to search very easily for a specific position, and that comes up a lot if you're selling items that all look the same. Classic example of this comes up if you're selling rolled maps out of your map tab. Then in that situation, it's really useful to be able to say, oh, this person wants position 2,8, so we'll grab them whatever's in position 2,8. Anyway, that's all the news for today. May your Valobs have interesting results, and I will see you around.